What event divided your life into before and after? Story 1. A breakup which I took very badly. It is without a doubt the worst thing that has ever happened to me so far. In the long run, though, it was literally the best thing ever. At first, it was okay. It was a mutual decision. But then someone else who was close to me got involved with the ex, like really quickly after the breakup. And that really fed me up, got me into a deep depression, which lasted almost 18 months. But the worst part was that I could no longer meet up with my friends. They were usually there at the get-togethers, and I could not stand looking at them without breaking into tears or howling or something. I could only meet my friends one at a time. It was a certain group of friends, always the same people, and I realized I had no one else. No real friends at work, no real friends at the university, or from anywhere else. Basically just family. A guy in my early 20s, I felt worthless, broken, and alone. I got some self-help books, went to therapy, but I still just wanted to stop existing. I only looked forward to sleeping because that's when I didn't feel the constant angst. Then, needing to somehow express my uncensored story, I started a journal. I was mostly writing about my depression and myself. I'm naturally introspective, and that was a good way to start looking at my situation in a different way. More importantly, I really started exploring who I was. I found a will to change, to fight. I realized that I'd been lacking certain skills to cope with the outside world. The wide variety of social skills I didn't have, my self-esteem, my life being boring, bleak, without direction, all of that, and more, was a problem. So after I identified some of the problems, I asked myself, how does one change that? Partly I already knew, partly I researched and learned, and partly it was hit and miss. But that was when I started actively sculpting myself into a person I wanted to be. I can't put it into words how hard that is. The number of successes is laughable compared to the number of failures, but the failures do not matter in the long run. They are the price of getting a bit farther in all this. I might as well not try at all and still be in the same place. It led me to a bunch of traveling, adventures, getting to know new people, trying a lot of new things, changing my view on people, myself, and my relationships. It opened my eyes to so much, both the beautiful and the dark, and also in between. I think that horrible breakup and the darkness of the subsequent depression made me find my biggest asset. The unquenchable fire of the will to fight no matter what. My depression has relapsed after that, but the speck of light was always there. You cannot win ever if you refuse to fight. Story 2. The day my 2-year-old daughter woke up from a nap and couldn't quite move her arms correctly. At first I thought she slept wrong, pinched a nerve maybe. Then her legs started giving out and I got really scared. She was taken by squad to the ER and underwent x-rays, CT scans, blood tests, etc., but no one could tell me what was happening. She eventually went into respiratory failure and had to be intubated. They took her for an MRI and about 4 hours later still weren't completely sure what happened. Sometime later that week they diagnosed her with longitudinally extensive transverse myelitis. She's quadriplegic and 100% vent dependent. She spent 4 months in the hospital. I only left 3 times for about an hour each to see my own doctor. My husband and I have other children, which is difficult for all of us. It was very difficult to still question why this happened. We went from a pretty typical family to a completely dysfunctional mess, seemingly overnight. While we have had some positive things, truthfully, it's been a very hard journey. Watching your child struggle to breathe, let alone move, is a heartbreak I can't describe. Her brain and brainstem were unaffected, and thankfully she's able to speak and move her head. She drives her power wheelchair herself with a head array controller. She will start kindergarten early in the fall and is the happiest, sweetest little girl you'd ever meet. The incident happened the day after Easter 2014, so this week will be hard on us. But we'll get through and keep plodding along because we really have no other choice. If there was ever a more defining, life-changing moment, I have yet to experience it. Story 3. Had less than a 10% chance of living after kidney failure, liver failure, septic shock, lactic acidosis, severe dehydration, and severe malnutrition, and severe alcohol withdrawal syndrome all hit me at once. When I woke from the DTs, alcohol withdrawal, in the ICU 8 days after being admitted, the doctor told me I was a freaking miracle. He had no medical explanation as to why I lived. My liver and kidneys basically did a complete 180 1 hour after he told my family I would be unalive by morning, which was 4 hours away. They had a priest and everything read me my last rites. I'm only 24 and have been drinking almost 2 liters worth of 100 proof vodka every 24 hours for 6 months straight. Morning, noon, night. I was never sober. After I was released about 4 weeks into the hospital, I was left crippled by the lactic acidosis, which made everything numb. The numbness, when receded, was replaced by a constant 10 out of 10 pain that lasted for literally 24/7 for 9 months. I lost my ability to walk. Nowadays, because I asked whatever was to save me, I don't drink, eat healthy, and run every night. My liver enzymes are perfectly healthy, and my congestive heart failure is no longer an issue. They've had to re-diagnose me as someone without heart failure. All of my muscles and vital organs are healthier than they've ever been since I was a child. I no longer have liver fibrosis, my legs work, and my heart is as healthy as any average young adult's. I also haven't been to jail as many times. Please like and subscribe if you've made it this far. I hope you'll enjoy the rest of this video and have a wonderful day. Story 4. Before and after the internet. It is seriously difficult to explain to people who have always had the internet what it was like before there was an internet. It's just mind-blowing how different things were. The simplest example I can give is this. Let's say you're talking with some people and a guy says, "Yeah, it's a fact. Cancer is a direct result of too much zinc in your diet. It's a new study of the Netherlands. It's just not made it into American medicine yet. You'll see it in the news in the next year or two as we catch up." So prior to the internet, you would hear that and wonder. Maybe start trying to watch your zinc intake. What's zinc in anyway? Fish? How do you find out? The library? What book do you look in? After consulting with a librarian and several hours of searching, you find out it's in dark chocolate. Ah, great. But where do you get dark chocolate? The local grocery store doesn't carry it. So you start calling around asking. No one has it. If your local stores don't carry something, you have no way to get it short of a mail order service. But you have no way of finding a mail order service. Meanwhile, post-internet, before the guy even finished his sentence, 3 people would have whipped out their phones, looked it up, and told him he was full of doo-doo. What we gained with the internet is so incredibly mind-blowing, improving every aspect of your life in ways so complicated we are still having a hard time pinning them all down. Story 5. I had a boyfriend who ghosted me. We were in an extremely committed, long-term relationship. Literally a week before it happened, he was talking about learning French before we have kids so they could grow up bilingual. It was, and still is, a huge shock. Before he left, I suffered from horrible depression and anxiety and was having seppuku thoughts and tendencies. I was already in therapy. After he left, I worked so hard in therapy so that when I went back to school the coming semester, I could do so on my own and stay focused on that. 7 months later, and I'm already done with my second year of university with a decent average, 75% as of right now. Sorry, I don't know GPA, and yes, I know that I should. I'm in a major life crisis, but I'm getting through it, and I know that I will survive what comes my way. In hindsight, him leaving me may have been the best thing that happened to me. Story 6. Moving out of my parents' house and eventually cutting off all contact. I went from a very controlled environment where I had to listen to screaming and fighting almost every night, plus I had to constantly ask for permission to do things like go out and, God help me if I wanted to have someone over. Bought a house, moved out, never looked back. Life is so much better now. Sometimes in the middle of the night, I wake up and hear a noise that I think is one of my parents walking around in the hall, and then I realize I'm alone, and relief just washes over me. I eat when I want, shower when I want, adopt several dogs, and I never get the third degree about any of my choices, especially now that there's no further contact with that side of the family at all. I feel like it's a huge blessing. Story 7. When I went to a recruiting event for a business fraternity at my school, growing up I never really had any friends. My freshman year of college wasn't much different, and I also wasn't happy with my major. By my sophomore year, I switched into business school and wanted it to be a fresh start. I heard about this fraternity and thought it sounded interesting, so I went to their mixer event. I remember walking into the atrium and looking around at everyone mingling. I saw a group of guys talking who looked friendly, took a deep breath, and walked right up to them and introduced myself. Long story short, they're now my best friends, and I can't imagine what my life would be like if I didn't go to that event and say hi to them. Story 8. Lost everything in a fire. Had no money and no insurance. It was definitely the crummiest time in my life. But I can definitely recognize the difference between before the fire and after. I'm much more mature and confident than I was 2 years ago. I'm in a better job. I have my own place. It was really a kick in the butt that made me a grown-up. I have insurance now. First thing I bought when I moved into the place. For those of you who don't have it, get it. There were 20 other people who lost everything in that fire, and none of us had insurance because our landlord didn't require it. I was lucky the people in my neighborhood came together to help raise money for everyone to make sure we were on our feet. Story 9. Motorcycle crash. Before, I had never been in the hospital for any reason on my own. Then I see this woman pull out in front of me and make a blind left turn across a couple lanes of traffic, and as I'm emergency braking, I somehow manage to look in her window and she's looking at her phone. Bam! Leg messed up, concussion, road rash, all for her be there in a few text, probably. She didn't even come over to see if I was all right after I stopped rolling. I still don't even know what she looks like, and this was 3 years ago. People suck. Nowadays, my eyes are darting in every direction, but it took a long time for me to get back to being okay with intersections. Stay off your god-dang phone while you're driving. Story 10. Probably traveling out of the country for the first time. I'm from an ultra-conservative part of Texas, so living in Switzerland for a few months was probably the best thing for my worldview, aside from going to college in Southern California. I'm way more open-minded and culturally aware than I was, and for that, I'm pretty grateful. Plus, it gave me my new favorite hobby. I'll be visiting countries 25 through 28 this summer. Story 11. Getting beat up in a Walmart parking lot. Sounds lame, I know, but I went into it as an idealistic, pacifist college kid. Came out with a much darker perspective on humanity and a newfound mistrust in people. This would make for a terribly mediocre superhero origin. Story 12. Medical school. Before I went to med school, I was constantly struggling to make enough money, hoping I wouldn't get sick or injured due to inadequate health insurance, and worrying about the debt I was going into during undergrad. Now I have way more free time to study, and I have enough money to not have to wonder how I'm going to fix the car or buy textbooks. Story 13. Gluten intolerance. Years of pain and sickness resulting in a 150-pound weight loss, bottoming out at 72 pounds. Yes, it's becoming a fad. Yes, most people have no idea why they want gluten-free things. But the demand it creates for gluten-free options makes my life much easier, so I can't be upset about their ignorance. Story 14. My father passing away. I was 20 when he passed. Years ago, yet those 8 years feel as long as the 20 before. My father passed away 2 weeks ago. I'm 19. No more stories, no more advice, no more answers for all my questions. Saying goodbye was the hardest thing I've ever done. 14 days felt like 14 years. Story 15. I was laid off and was without a job for 6 months. I had a wife and a newborn at home. Everything I've done professionally since then has been to make sure it never happens again. I'm 37 and this happened 10 years ago, but it's the defining moment of my life and will always be. Story 16. Before and after I met my wife. It's not like everything's perfect now, but I'm not lonely, bored, and living with my overly strict parents since I met her, so that's pretty awesome. Please leave your stories in the comments. I'd love to make a video of them in the future. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe.